So far, Basics has done about 400 loans amounting to about 4 million rupees. Not in last 12 months, prior to that. What I understand, in fact, most of you have recognized that we are talking about people who are likely to become salaried employed or wage employed. I see, as a financer, I see them in three categories. There are certain courses, primarily most of you are focusing on, that at the end of the training you expect them to become a salaried employee. But the scope for achieving from the total target that we have as a nation in terms of creating 13 or 14 million jobs every year, new jobs for the youth entering the workforce. And in the wage employment, maybe about 20%. So the first one is the formal employment, organized sector. The second and third is mostly unorganized sector. Now, the third segment is the self-employment oriented thing. I think I am not gone to the exact statistics here, but the point to drive here is that is 70% of the portion of the problem that we are facing as a nation. Now, whose job is this? Who is the owner of this job? I think the NSDC has to look at this seriously. There are quite a few examples available in the country to learn from. In Basics, we have a vehicle called Bharatiya Krishi Samruddhi Limited. Basically, what we do is we have 5 standard programs where we charge about 600 to 700 rupees depending on this product, where we train the customer for about, say, 9 months, but not on a continuous basis. Once in a month, we meet and tell the customer how to do his activity better. What are those activities? One is the dairy farming, all allied activities. The second one is we train them on mushroom farming. Then the third one is it's called Pakshi Samruddhi. You have certain variety of chicks. If you give to these low-income families, they rear them, and they have the possibility of by investing 500 rupees, they can earn about 2,000 rupees. That's 4 times, and it's sort of just giving attention on a day-to-day basis to the chicks. But if one can go for 3 times of that chicks, we give you 8 chicks for 400 rupees with vaccination done over a period of 3 months' time. And this chick becomes about 2 kgs in 6 to 7 months' time and yields a return of 300 rupees, where the customer is perhaps paying only something like 40, 50 rupees for that. Then we have example where we train people on tailoring. Somebody mentioned there's a lot of demand. The government's example that China is likely to export, even if they do 1% to our country, that is equivalent to what we are doing the present job. So these are the areas I think as a nation we have to more focused on. And I think while the skill training and this is a very difficult task that you are seeing, and still it is a low hanging fruit in the problem. Now, if I have to consider to give a loan to a student, I am believing here that the student is interested in the course that you are offering. For 3 products, if I have to look at, I see low risk involved in financing the self-employment ventures. And I see moderate risk in the first category, and the second category, the high risk. The details I have given here. In the interest of time, I will skip them. Then I also see that there are risk mitigation methods if the training institution takes care of that the proper candidates are enrolled for the program and they are sustaining for those 30 days or so. Then at the end they are coming out in the expected way that they are going to, and it all depends on what kind of people are entering the course. And if these things are taken care, I think you can reduce the risk involved in that. But as a financer, I see if the training institution fails in these fronts, then that risk comes onto all boards. But at the end, it's a matter of balance between the numbers and the quality. Now, these are the closing remarks. You may have the best course possible, but still, assuring 100% employment is, I think, is not possible. So there is a risk involved in that. So that's why the targets needs to be realistic with accountability. The second one is skill development is a social good task. And we are talking about people in the bottom of the pyramid, and mostly the first generation entrepreneurs if you are talking about. And there is a need for subsidizing this cost. And we did earlier, made some discussions and gave a proposal to NSDC. I think fortunately they also accepted that, and they're already doing that 15 to 20%. I heard, I do not have a direct information because I don't deal with that portfolio. But that's a very good initiative. Something like 15 to 20% loan loss can be expected in this kind of portfolio. If there is a risk fund available to meet that risk, the financiers will feel more comfortable. The third point is, you also should charge the customer, the student who is enrolling for the course, and maybe up to 24% you can charge. They are after all small loans, less than 10,000 rupees, maybe some courses more than 10,000, but usually less than 10,000 rupees. Then at the end, I see a revenue model for lending to this category of customers. So between what the student pays and the subsidy that I am proposing here, it can go from 24 plus 15, 39 to say 44%. But then the lender can meet his cost of funds at 12% assume, that is what the bankers lend usually for these purposes. Operating cost is 15%. We have seen microfinance institutions facing very efficient operations, facing about 10% of operating cost. But I expect that in the densely lending area, and these loans are not going to be in hundreds in a few villages or so. So the operating cost will be definitely high, and there will be 10% loan loss I am budgeting, and then 2 to 7% of spread for the lender, and that is an attractive proposition for the lender. So this is what I have.
Can I ask a quick question? Sorry. What is your repayment policy? How does the loan get repaid? On what terms?
See, first of all, we asked the question that what kind of course this is and what kind of income that we expect at the end of the course. But you have to leave for the expenses for the candidate and how much he can pay every month. So it's more of a cash flow based repayment. So we advise something like 6 to 12 months time for repayment of this.
So you give a moratorium?
Not we do give. Not